Hey everybody, Hoosier Jedi here with another review for you. This time I'm talking the Arrow episode, Brothers and Sisters. And generally speaking, I thought this was a pretty solid episode, and the ending of the episode definitely gets some high points for me. Now, this is another time when the title references kind of more than one thing of the plot. We also have the brother and sister plot going on in the present, and the one in the future. Let's get the future stuff out of the way first. I'm not really digging this whole future stuff, especially since a lot of what we're seeing there seems to be very contradictory to what we saw of this time, like this timeline in Legends of Tomorrow, especially as it relates to John Diggle's son. I mean, his adopted son. Like, what the heck is going on here? This makes absolutely no sense whatsoever to me. I mean, this feels like something they'll explain eventually, but yeah, what the hell's going on? Connor is John Diggle Jr., but he's John's adopted son, even though John already has a son. But anyway, the two plot lines between Oliver and Emiko and um, oh crud, William, William and Mia, couldn't think of William's name for a second, are kind of like, okay, we got a bad start, and then we have this heartfelt conversation, and then we are kind of like on the same page, although we do have that final little additional twist going on in the present. Um, so let's just kind of talk about what's going on here. First of all, I'm happy they actually got China White a decent looking wig. Yeah, so great there. Um, I think the real I do like the big dynamic going on in this episode. That there's this conflict, especially between John and Felicity and to a degree Oliver. It's sort of like you're working with this guy who tried to kill me and Oliver's son, and has basically tried to kill all of us. And Oliver and Diggle are like, well, we don't want to do this, but there's a greater purpose to all of this. And I do like that, yeah, there really are good points being made on both sides. Now, why did after everything that went on there, they didn't immediately kill Diaz after Argus recaptured him? I mean, seriously, he found a way to slip the one thing they had that controls the Suicide Squad guys. I mean, sure, they could stick another one in there, but what's the point? So, yeah, it's no surprise to me that Diaz did not make it out of this episode alive because there's really, at this point, it would be almost impossible to kind of think of a logical reason to keep him around. I mean, granted, the show has kept him around a lot longer than basically what seems to be the general consensus among fans about how long we wanted this character to be around. Looking from what I've seen, I'm not the only person who was like, "Oh, thank God, we're finally done with this guy as a character." I mean, he really just dragged on too long, and at the end of the day, he was spent most of his time as just a dude. I mean, seriously. I mean, this is just one of those things that's sort of like, oh man, like they're so terrified of this guy, and yet he's just a guy. This is one of those things where like, I know they don't really do the whole killing thing anymore, but this doesn't change the fact that this is still just a guy that you could just, you know, take his head off with a sniper rifle and then your problem's over with. I mean, even him getting powers didn't really make him seem that especially much more of a threat. And certainly not when he was in Argus custody. So yeah, and I do like the way they killed Diaz off with him being set on fire. It kind of goes along with the whole Dante thing, and it mirrors how he himself offed his old childhood bully. So yeah, very nice case of Diaz getting what he deserved. And honestly, really, the whole thing with Felicity making the decision to not kill Diaz and basically putting her fear of him behind her, that was really the icing on the cake that basically kind of tied everything up and like, okay, we are really done with this character. There's nothing more we can do it. Finally, let's just kill him off. So good, good. Man, thank God. Also, some nice stuff with John taking the fall for Lila. Kind of wonder, like, well, okay, what kind of doors is that going to open for him as a character in the future now that his career with the military / government is basically screwed beyond redemption. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see. And let's see. What else? What else? What else? Some nice moments with Renee kind of being the voice of reason with Oliver and really kind of laying out for him, like, hey man, you've really screwed up here, and let me explain to you why she trusts me and not you. So, yeah, nice job there for Renee. Also kind of like the Laurel and Felicity bonding scenes there. Interesting that Black Siren seems to know so much about what kind of food is good for pregnant women. Curious that she would know that, but all right. I mean, people have unexpected pools of knowledge. I mean, that's not that unusual, I suppose. And I did like when Oliver went and apologized to Emiko, and it seemed very, very genuine and heartfelt. It was nicely done. We're also introduced to the Dante character this episode, and as far as I don't recognize him as anybody from the comics, I'm not really feeling this guy. It's sort of like, really, it's a little late in the season to be introducing the season's big bad. And, okay, the guy can fight really well, and he can do the whole take your eyes off me for a second and I completely vanish thing, which is all well and good. But at the end of the day, once again, he seems to still be, like, just a guy. And, oh, he's a guy that Diaz was afraid of. It's just like... And you know what really gets me here is they're going on about how this guy is like this big financier of terrorism. Why? How actually do you make money off of terrorism? Now, granted, people have usually turned to things like growing and selling and smuggling drugs to finance terrorism. I mean, like that's kind of like what goes on a lot in Afghanistan, is like the trade in opium and all kinds of like illegal stuff down in South America. The coca fields are what finance a lot of the bad stuff that goes on around there. But again, this is when basically the criminals and the terrorists cultivate this stuff themselves and then sell it to finance their activities as well as line their own pockets personally. How is investing in terrorists something you make money on? You know, you don't really see people seeing things like ISIS as a solid business investment. How the hell does this work? I mean, maybe there's a way this works and I'm just not seeing it, but this makes absolutely no sense. And apparently this is his main thing. This is how he makes his big money. Paying terrorists to do, financing terrorists to do terrorist things? I mean, what is it? It's like, oh, you're going to blow up that building in that city at 5 o'clock on Friday. Okay, well, as soon as that happens, there's going to be a huge dip in the stock market, so I guess I'll scoop up a bunch of stock. Really, like, how the hell does this work? That's all I can say is, how the hell does any of this work? Okay, well, I think that's really all I had to say this time around, guys. This is the first Arrow video I've made since it was announced by good old Stephen Amell that the upcoming season, Season 8, is going to be the last of the show. And I'm okay with that. 8 seasons is more than a lot of shows get, and I would really hate for this to be a show that just really keeps on running past its ability to actually tell a good story, where you watch not because you actually enjoy the show, but just because you feel obligated to watch because doing so has been a part of your life for so long. Oh God, man. I went through 7 years with Star Trek Voyager for basically that reason. Oh Lord. yeah, know when to get off the stage, people. That's old wisdom for a reason. So, of course, not surprising. I mean, of course, they're not going to completely wash their hands of these actors, and the people from the show might, if they want to continue being regulars on CW stuff, maybe get shuffled over to the Flash or Batwoman. Like somebody like Diggle would be a good person to sort of relocate to Gotham for some whatever reason, or Felicity could go there. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities, and of course, the other actors would be more than welcome, I'm sure, to occasionally guest star. And I seriously doubt the CW verse, whatever happens during Crisis on Infinite Earths, has seen the last of Stephen Amell. Anyway, guys, I'm going to call it here. As always, please comment, rate, subscribe, and of course, you can join me on Twitter at Hoosier Jedi. Until next time, take care and have a good one.